The Gitrog monster is one of the faster combo decks we have in this competitive EDH format. I call Gary land deck with graveyard combo, and in this video we were looking at how to pilot this froggy. To get a full deck list of this deck, look in the description below from my tapped out page. There you can find my Gitrog monster deck. I also update that list whenever there is something new and impactful that will change the list. The combo always have the same start setup. Froggy monster in play together with one discard outlet with no cost. There are 6 available ones. If Wizard would print more, we would run those too. The ones we have so far is Nose Constrictor, Putrid Imp, Scourge Familiar, Una's Prowl, Oblivion Crown and Wild Mongrel. We don't care about any of their effects, all we want is the ability to discard a card, namely Dakmor Salvage. This land is a deck's engine. It's a land with Dredge too. When it hits the graveyard, Gitrog will trigger and put a draw card on the stack. We now use Dakmor Salvage Dredge 2 ability and replace the draw trigger and put 2 cards from top of our deck into our grave and put Dakmor into our hand. Now just repeat this. What this does is putting the entire deck into your grave, but it will also draw a couple of cards, because when Dakmor Salvage Dredge ability do hit a land or two, you get a draw trigger from our favorite frog. Now there's 2 paths we can choose to go with. Either we choose to play the Necrotic Ooze package or the 4 Horsemen package. Let's begin with the Necrotic Ooze package, which is a bunch of cards together that will win from having them all in the grave. First we cast Dread Return from our grave with its flashback by sacrificing 3 creatures. That puts Necrotic Ooze in play. Necrotic Ooze has all activate abilities from all creatures from all graveyards. Now Necrotic Ooze can use the ability of Toneling to give it haste. Then Necrotic Ooze use Elvish Aberration ability to tap for free green, and then use Pilla Pala to untap itself and 1 whatever mana. Now we have unlimited mana and Bloodright Invoker engraved to kill all opponents. A grand total of 6 cards: Dread Return, Necrotic Ooze, Toneling, Elvish Aberration, Pilla Pala and Bloodright Invoker. That is the Necrotic Ooze package, one of its many variants. The other option is a 4 Horsemen package, which is smaller and in my personal opinion much better. It uses one of the Eldrazi Titan, Kozilek the Butcher of Truth. We don't really care that much about the card, all we want is his ability. Whenever Kozilek hits the grave, shuffle your graveyard into your library. Remember the part where Dakmor Salvage hits a land or 2, draw a card. And now with Kozilek we can loop the graveyard. In the end we will have the entire deck in hand. The problem is all those ifs. Judges don't like those ifs. Also, you can't prove Kozilek is in your deck until you hit him. So legally your opponents are allowed to force you to do this combo manually. There is ways to work a little bit around it. You can say that you keep the draw triggers on stack until you have enough draw triggers on the stack to draw your entire deck. In any case, it's a bit complicated and I have tried out this in tournaments. The judge told me, "Stop! I'm ending your turn. This is called slow play." But if you talk to people and try to get them to understand that the combo is 100% deterministic, that means that you're going to achieve the entire deck in your hand eventually, then in most cases you get to do the shortcut. By the way, I am practicing and performing this combo manually below 5 minutes, and when I do I will indeed post that video. World record Gitrog 4 Horsemen combo. That is going to be something. One more thing about 4 Horsemen, and something that makes Gitrog a very complicated commander to play, is the end step. And at the end step with Dakmor Salvage in hand and 7 other cards is a sweet dream for Gitrog player, but a headache for a judge. Because this is what's going to happen. You discard Dakmor Salvage to go down to 7 cards in hand, but Gitrog see a land hit the grave and triggers. Now you get to draw Dakmor Salvage back to your hand and mill 2 cards from top of your deck, and maybe if you hit a land card, you will draw a card. Now you have 8 to 9 cards in hand again, which means the discard phase refreshes. Yes, indeed, you get another discard phase. And I think you can see what happens here. In theory, if no one cares about what you're going to do, this can be shortcutted. That means that you can have whatever 7 cards you wish to have from your deck in your hand, and just reshuffle your grave empty, just because Kozilek exists inside your deck. This is something no one lets me do, by the way, and if you see a Gitrog player do this, you should consult a judge. If you think that the combo is legit, however, then you should let the Gitrog player just search his entire deck, put 7 cards he wished to have in his hand, and shuffle the other backs into his deck. I personally don't have any answer to how this part of Magic should be resolved. The judges I know completely forbid it. But back on topic, what are we actually gonna do when we have our entire deck in our hand? Now this is what we're going to do. We're going to start with putting Lotus Petal in play, just putting it right there. Then we're discarding a land card, just there, and get a draw trigger on stack. Now we discard in response, before drawing that card, Kozilek to a grave, because our deck is empty. He will shuffle it back here. So this is our deck for 2 cards. Now we're discarding Dakmon Savage, another draw trigger on stack. Now we have a total of 2 draw triggers on stack. We're activating the Dredge ability, put it back in hand, and put these 2 back into our grave. Now we have once more 2 draw triggers on stack and a Kozilek in grave to reshuffle it. Now we can do this loop with Dakmon Salvage and Kozilek and a land card to get unlimited amount of draw triggers on stack. But we only want 3 draw triggers on stack, because now after returning this Dakmon Savage to our hand, we have 3 draw triggers on stack and the Kozilek to reshuffle the deck on top of it. In response, before everything of this happens, we sacrifice the Lotus Petal to put it in graveyard for 1 pink mana. Then we'll let the Kozilek reshuffling trigger activate, reshuffle our deck, put 3 cards total into our deck, and 3 draw triggers on stack, draw these 3 cards, and you have just loop this combo, and you have unlimited amount of mana. Voila! Now do the same, but replace Lotus Petal with Gef's Verdict to kill all opponents. It's an instant speed 2 black to force an opponent to sacrifice a creature and lose a life. And we can repeat this with this loop. All in all, it doesn't really matter what combo you go for. Having Dakmo in hand, Gitrog in play and a discard outlet in play is straight up a win. But I think you should go for the 4 horsemen package because it has better cards and a fewer cards, which leaves up space for tutors, ramp, card draw and interaction. You are just going to have a better deck overall. And what about the rest of the deck? Well, that depends on your playgroup and meta, what opponents you usually come across. But here are some cards I really recommend to put in this sort of deck. You should play every fetch land that fetch a forest or swamp. Those cantrip with Gitrog in play. You get a land card and a draw card trigger, and therefore you should also play a lot of basics so you have enough fetch targets. But something you are going to need a lot of is anti-enchantment artifact, because Rest in Peace is the best card versus this deck. Gitrog forces you to sack a land at the start of your turn, but you don't get the draw trigger because of Rest in Peace. Therefore, you really need to be able to consistently deal with a Rest in Peace in play. Now this deck isn't a budget deck. I do recommend adding in a Bazaar Baghdad. Now you can play Gitrog without that land, but Bazaar is just that good in this deck. Bazaar lets you walk through your deck and skipping ahead really fast. Now this is it for me and Old Froggy. I hope you learned something from all of this. The decklist on how I currently play Gitrog is in the description of my tapped out net. Now if you have any questions, just make a comment, and take care.